Let's go for it. I just feel sick.
I know this isn't easy, but if you look too nervous in front of the jury...
Well, I'm sorry, but I've never been tried for murder before.
Come on, Matthew.
I can't do this. I can't.
You'll feel better once we get into the court. Matthew, I know you're going to take this the wrong way, but it might not be too late to do that deal with the CPS.
No. I'm not pleading guilty. I'd rather you taste up the forensics on that jacket because that's what proves Steve killed her.
Matthew, it is essential that we concentrate on the trial and try to keep calm.
Oh, good timing. I told him, no later than 1:15.
I should have carried on and got the train, shouldn't I?
Oh, look, this will be in there. I'm sure it'll all work out okay.
I said that when he got arrested. Still got to court though, didn't it?
Let's ask him for a lift.
Terry, I think we need to give evidence for the prosecution. I'm the last person Michael wants to sit with.
Sorry, Sarah. How are you feeling?
How do you think? I promise you one thing. I'll do all I can to help me.
Thanks, Peggy.
Ian, I'm nervous enough as it is.
All I'm saying is, be on your guard.
I'll just tell the truth.
Yeah, if the defence lets you.
Oh, what do you mean?
If Steve's barrister is anything like him, he will try and twist everything that you say.
Go and sit in the court. I'll be fine. Really.
Good luck.
Thanks.
I'll be thinking of you.
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Matt? Can I go in now, please?
If this is as bad as Ian reckons it'll be.
Yeah, well, you better watch out for Steve's barrister.
Oh, don't you start. Talking of Steve.
You see if your friend's still smiling when her brother gets life, eh?
I wonder where we sit.
Through there. There's a room for prosecution witnesses. But you better make yourself known to the usher. I think you're the first one out.
Can't wait.
All rise. My lord, my client, Matthew Rose, is, as you are aware, pleading guilty to the conspiracy charge. In order that this plea should not prejudice, however, the other serious matter, may I apply that the charge be put to the defendants before the jury is sworn? I have, of course, consulted my learned friend, Mr. Cherry, who is in agreement.
The Crown has no objection, my lord.
We'll deal with the first indictment now.
If the defendants would please stand. You are charged upon this indictment containing one count, for that you, Matthew Rose, and you, Stephen Owen, on the 15th of February 1999, did conspire with each other to pervert the course of justice by concealing the body of Saskia Duncan. How do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honour. Guilty.
Mr. Owen and Mr. Rose, the sentencing for this offence will take place after the jury has reached a verdict on the second indictment of murder. You may sit down, if you'd bring the jury through.
If the defendants would please stand. You are charged upon this indictment containing one count, for that you, Stephen Owen, and you, Matthew Rose, on the 14th of February 1999, did murder Saskia Duncan. How do you plead?
Not guilty, Your Honour. Not guilty.
If you'd be seated.
We shall now start with the case for the Crown. I shall ask Miss Mills, who is the QC for the prosecution, to make her opening address. Miss Mills?
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there is one simple, undeniable fact in this case. On February the 14th, 1999, when Saskia Duncan met with Mr. Owen and Mr. Rose, she also met with her death.
It's coming now.
You'll be fine.
Miss Healy, if you'd like to come through to court.
Good luck.
Let's hope she don't do him no favours, eh?
Why would she?
Well, she used to be in love with the geezer. Maybe she's still got feelings for him, innit?
She's engaged to Ian now, Janet.
Say no more.
How did you first meet Mr. Owen?
It sounds strange, but he nearly ran me over in his car.
I should imagine that would bring Mr. Owen to your attention.
Oh, it wasn't on purpose. I was crossing the road and he hadn't seen me.
It's safe to say that your relationship from that point could only get better.
Yeah, he turned up at where I work with a picnic and a bottle of champagne to apologise. I wasn't that keen at first, but Steve can be quite a charmer. We started going out together.
Did the relationship work well?
I'm not saying it didn't have its problems, but yeah, it was starting to work very well.
You say it was starting.
Yeah, that's until Saskia turned up.
How did Miss Duncan affect the relationship?
At first, I didn't even know she knew Steve, but she got chatting to me and we became quite friendly.
What was Mr. Owen's reaction to this?
He was annoyed. He didn't really want me spending any time with her.
How annoyed was he?
Well, he got pretty angry about it.
Please, Miss Healy, take your time.
Thank you.
If we move now to the 14th of February, Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it was Steve's big opening night at the club. He gave me an invite and I decided to go.
What happened when you got there?
I went into Steve's office with him for a drink. We were getting on great. Actually, I was thinking of going back out with him again.
So, all was going well?
Really well. Then Saskia burst in. She kissed Steve and thanked him for sending her some flowers.
How did you feel about that?
I'd had enough. I just got up and left.
What was Steve's reaction to Saskia bursting in on you?
Well, he wasn't exactly pleased to see her.
One final point. After Valentine's Day, did Mr. Owen try to persuade you to go out with him again?
Yeah, he did.
What did he say about Miss Duncan?
He told me that she'd gone for good.
Did he say where she'd gone?
No, he just said that she wouldn't be around anymore.
Thank you, Miss Healy. I have no more questions.
Members of the jury, when a witness has finished giving evidence, there is then the opportunity for the defence counsel to cross-examine. Mr. Cherry?
Miss Healy, would you say that Saskia Duncan manipulated your relationship with her?
Yeah, definitely. And looking back now, it's a bit scary.
In what way? Scary?
Well, she must have found out where I went, and then she'd bump into me, as if by coincidence.
Would you say you were deceived by Miss Duncan?
All the time. She played me and Steve off against each other.
Did Miss Duncan give you the impression that she was obsessed with Mr. Owen?
Yes. It was as if she couldn't have him, then no one else would.
Finally, in all the time you knew Mr. Owen, was he ever aggressive towards you?
Never. And I never saw him being aggressive with Saskia either. He might have got angry, but there was never anything heavy or violent.
Thank you, Miss Healy.
My lord, a matter has arisen on which I need to consult my client. Would it be possible to rise for an early lunch?
I take it this matter is urgent.
It is indeed, my lord.
But why doesn't it prove anything? He was wearing the jacket when he killed her. It had her blood on it.
But it doesn't prove that he did it. I did say that we couldn't rely on it.
Well, get him to check it again, then.
I'm sorry, but we cannot argue with this forensic report.
Well, that's mean, isn't it? That's prison for life.
We have a strong case.
I'm sorry, I cannot do this. I want to do the deal. I want to plead guilty to manslaughter.
Matthew, this is a big decision.
I don't want to talk about it. Just go and do the deal for me.
Why didn't you go and have a word with your father?
No, I can't go back into that courtroom. Please. Go and do the deal for me.
Okay. I'll go and find Miss Mills.
Try not to look too pleased when you go back in there.
I'll try.
Pleased about what?
Oh, the forensic report's just come back on my jacket. There was nothing on it.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, that was the only evidence they had. They're never going to convict me now.
Well, how could they convict you?
Well, you never know, do you? I mean, these barristers will use anything.
If you didn't do it, what evidence could they find?
Can't you just be pleased that I'm in the clear?
You said it again, in the clear. I mean, I thought you didn't do anything.
Of course I didn't.
Well, why are you jumping up and down?
I don't know, my jacket might have been splashed with blood.
Steve, you're lying to me.
What is this?
I can see it in your face.
Look, sis.
And now you're calling me that, I know you're lying.
Hang on a minute, what are you trying to say here?
You did it, didn't you?
Jackie, please.
You killed her.
Jackie, come back here! Jackie, come back!
So, if I've served time already for hiding the body and conspiracy charges, then I'll only get 2 years, right? What's the matter?
I'm sorry, but it's no go.
It's got to be.
We were too late.
You're going to change her mind.
Mills is adamant. She doesn't want to know.
Well, that is just great. I'm going to end up doing life.
Now, calm yourself down, Matthew.
This is your fault. You should have insisted that I did it.
Now, you listen to me. If you let me get on with my job, then there is a good chance that you will be acquitted. But if you don't pull yourself together, and quickly, Matthew, then you're right. You're going to end up doing life.
I don't remember her arriving, but she was there from about 7 o'clock onwards.
How did you find Miss Duncan?
I didn't have to find her. She was propping up the bar.
By this you mean she'd had a lot to drink?
Yeah, she'd had too much. She was drunk.
Did you speak to Miss Duncan?
No, but I could hear her. She was telling anyone who would listen.
What was she telling them about?
Well, about men mainly. What swines they are and how you can't trust them.
Sentiments echoed by a great many single women on Valentine's Day. So, you'd say Miss Duncan wasn't in a happy state?
Definitely not. I felt sorry for her.
Why was that?
Well, she was a bit pathetic.
Obviously, I don't wish to put words into your mouth, Mrs. Butch, but you describe Miss Duncan as drowning her sorrows and being both a sad and pathetic figure.
That's right, yeah.
We know that Miss Duncan then went straight on to Mr. Owen's nightclub, E20. Would you find it hard to believe that the Miss Duncan you've described, shortly after leaving the Queen Vic, could have attacked and half-strangled a man nearly twice her size?
My lord, I object to this leading question.
I would find that hard to believe, but I'd find it even harder to believe that Matthew Rose would do anything to her.
And Mrs. Butcher, that is purely speculation on your part.
Well, she asked me if I thought Saskia could attack anyone.
The difference being that you didn't see Matthew Rose on the night in question.
No, but I know him and his family. And Matthew's a really nice lad.
That's enough, thank you, Mrs. Butcher. Miss Mills?
I have no more questions. So, what happened when Saskia Duncan went towards the office?
Well, Matthew stopped her. He stood in her way.
What happened then?
Well, at first, Matthew tried to reason with her, but, well, she wouldn't take any notice of him, so he pushed her away.
In other words, Mr. Rose lost his temper and became violent.
I wouldn't say that, no.
Miss Hills, you said that after trying to reason with Miss Duncan, Mr. Rose forced her away from him against her will. Is this not the action of a man who has lost his temper and resorted to physical means?
I suppose it is, yeah.
Thank you, Miss Hills. I have no more questions.
I have no questions for this witness, my lord.
Miss Hills, going back to when Mr. Rose tried to get Miss Duncan away from the office, would another interpretation be that instead of losing his temper, that Mr. Rose was merely being firm with her?
Yeah, that's how it looked to me.
And would you also say that Mr. Rose looked desperate to move her away, as he didn't want there to be any trouble?
Definitely. Matthew, he hates any sort of trouble.
How long have you known Mr. Rose?
Well, we've been friends for years.
And would you say that you know him well?
Very well. Matthew, he isn't macho like a lot of blokes. He's someone you can talk to.
Did you at one time have a relationship with Mr. Rose?
Yes, but we both realised we weren't right for each other.
Was Mr. Rose ever violent towards you?
No. Matthew wouldn't ever hit a woman.
Was he ever aggressive towards you?
Matthew isn't like that. He's always been kind and considerate.
And finally, Miss Hills, after February the 14th, did you notice a change in Mr. Rose?
A huge change.
In what way?
There was obviously something upsetting him. He didn't bother with his business. He even started drinking. He was just a different person.
Thank you, Miss Hills.
My lord, I've just received some information about which I'd like to ask the witness.
Go ahead, Mr. Cherry.
Miss Hills, you say Matthew Rose was always kind and considerate.
That's right.
But that wasn't the case when you and he got engaged. Well, I don't wish to embarrass you, but didn't Matthew Rose get engaged in order that you consent to have sexual intercourse with him? And then, following morning, he broke the engagement off.
Yes, but we both sorted
Matthew
it out.
Rose manipulated both you and the situation. Didn't he, Miss Hills?
It wasn't like that sounds.
But it sounds to me like Matthew Rose lied in order that you'd have sex with him. Then when he had what he wanted, he cast you aside. Is that correct, Miss Hills? Miss Hills, did Matthew Rose lie in order to have sex with you? Is that what happened?
Yes. Yes, it was.
Hardly the actions of a kind and considerate person, Miss Hills. I have no more questions, my lord.
Miss Hills, thank you for your attendance. You're now free to leave the court. Members of the jury, as it's now 5 minutes to 4, we shall adjourn for today. If I may remind you not to discuss the case with anyone. I shall see you at 10 o'clock in the morning. Thank you.
Steve! How can you do this to me? How can you stand there and let me take the blame?
Will you get him away from me?
Just tell him the truth, Steve, please!